Okay, let's now discuss the Mandela Effect and relate it to the quantum law of entanglements on a global scale. Now, many of you, having watched my videos, would understand that I'm a targeted individual. Yeah. Now, obviously, when you first become a targeted individual, I became a targeted individual in 2000, but then I deduced that might have become targeted 3 or 4 years before then. So when you first realize that you're a targeted individual, you think that you're the only one there, but then when you start to think pragmatically, you can start to see scale and say, well, I can't be the only one. And then when I started looking online and then other people were reporting the same experiences, that's when I started to add 2 and 2 together. So then obviously when you look at the law of entanglements, where it says if two particles are entangled with each other and then they separate at greater distance, they can start to have a relationship between their behaviors or properties or attributes. Yeah. So then I also looked at the biblical miracles of Moses. Yeah. Now Moses studied with the original Masons, which were the Egyptian high priests, and he knew everything about casting spells and trying to alter nature. And obviously the Jewish nation had lived in the Middle East. Well, that's where they originated from. So, and they were scattered along the all across the Middle East. So whatever spell, whatever trick of nature there is, whatever neural language programming that came from the ancient Middle East, the Jews had it before the Greeks and the Romans. Remember, Moses left with the Jews, I think something like 500 years before Christ, or 400, 300, 400 years before Alexander the Great. So they left with the knowledge they had gained in Egypt. So it's like the African Americans who have been in America for 400 years, they've learnt everything that the European Americans had to offer. So if they were to leave America, they will come back with that knowledge. That's the same thing that happened with the Jews. You can't live somewhere and not pick up something, so you either change who you are by being enslaved where you are. They was enslaved in Egypt, Babylon, Persia. So whatever neuro-linguistic programming, neuro-language programming that was present in the Middle East, the Jews have it all. And then they have sacred words like the name of what you call Jehovah or Yahweh. This is a sacred word. So another thing I would like to point out, modern day scientists have done psi experiments, psi experiments. I think one person took a group of maybe 100 to 1,000 people to New York, and he sat them down in a building, and he wanted them to concentrate on reducing crime in the city, and it reduced by a bit. So he concentrated. He wanted them to concentrate on altering our reality. Yeah. So they sat down and were manipulated into thinking a certain way to reduce crime across the state. So this psi experiment is similar to what the Jewish nation was facing at the Nile Bank, where Moses was standing in front of them, and I believe he must have manipulated them into thinking a certain way in order to alter reality, i.e. part the Red Sea. Now the problem is when you're looking at the Mandela effect, yeah, if these psi experiments are working, yeah, now this is the paranormal aspect of the Mandela effect. This is paranormal conspiracy, where the conspiracy aspect and the paranoia aspect are working in conjunction with each other. Someone conspires to uh, evoke, elevate, amplify uh, the brain or consciousness's ability to alter reality. We all know that the act of realizing or looking at what's happening um, at the double slits when light goes through them stops the diffraction pattern on the screen. So consciousness can alter reality. So if you go back to the psi experiment that happened in New York, for the rest of the people in New York who didn't know about this experiment, um, all they can say is that crime was reduced um, by a fraction. Now, how would this be realized? So there might have been people out there who see someone who is your bog standard criminal, and they'll be wondering why he's not doing a crime, and they will even anticipate it. So it would be like a change in reality. So you'll be looking at someone and say, I'm sure this guy is going to commit a crime at that time when they're doing the psi experiment, but then he doesn't. You sit there and you wonder and you say, why is he not committing this crime? Yeah, when he's somebody who you would expect to do so. So you might start noticing little changes. Yeah, and as they're doing these psi experiments, how do these changes manifest? Yeah, these are things that you report when you notice Mandela effects. Can they sit there with 1,000 people and say, right, we want to change the color of the Statue of Liberty? And they concentrate on doing that with their minds, and it changes, and then people come along and say, hang on a minute, didn't that Statue of Liberty used to be a greenish blue color, and now it's turned red? So um, this is when people conspire to use paranormal forces, yeah, to change reality. Now, in my view, I'm a targeted individual, yeah. It means I cannot see the contents of your consciousness, yeah. But I do believe there are other human beings who can see the consciousness, um, the contents of people's consciousness. As a targeted individual, this is what we believe in, that our minds are being violated and frequented by other individuals, and they seem to know what we're thinking as if they're in our minds at the time when we're thinking it. So that's why I've started to say that there's two types of human being. Yeah, this is entanglements on a global scale. When two human beings meet and are standing in close proximity to each other, they are essentially two entities who both have the consciousness attribute or property. So consciousness is an attribute of a mass. Yeah, your body. Consciousness is like data on a CD or paint on a canvas. Yeah. So the pattern uh, that your neural pathways form, this globally can be said to be your consciousness. It's like your neural pathways are painting, and the gray matter is the canvas. So all your consciousness is painting on the canvas. If I could take the your neurons memories or your neural pathways and copy them and then paste them on a blank gray matter or blank brain, uh, you will be somewhere else. Yeah, and there'll be two of you. Yeah, your consciousness will be in two places at the same time. So there are two types. Consciousness is an attribute or property. So relatively speaking, the fact that they are in close proximity during the meeting, they are entangled with each other. So basically, for this to work, two people have to meet. Let's say you go out on the street and you meet someone, yeah, or you're standing on a train with someone who's standing very close to you. When you do stand close to each other, your consciousness, which is an attribute for both of you, the consciousness of person A and the consciousness of person B are now entangled with each other. Yeah. So after meeting at location A, yeah, Let's say location A is a train, or on the street, or on a date even. After meeting at location A, yeah, when those two human beings are separated and go their separate ways, at some time later, person B's consciousness starts to experience person A's consciousness. Yeah, I believe there's two types of human being. One who cannot see into other people's minds, and the other one that can. It seems to be one directional. Yeah, this is a special type of consciousness, a consciousness that cannot see beyond the confines of its skull. In my life, all I see is what goes on in my head. If somebody comes into my head, I'm also an empath. If somebody is monitoring my thoughts, I can detect that. Because all I do with my life, I'm a special consciousness. According to the Bible, you're not supposed to act as a medium for anything. Yeah, but most of us act as a medium for this type of person. We allow people like this to see into our minds. And that's against the Bible, and it violates the laws of nature, and it violates certain covenants we made with God. Oh, sorry, with the Creator. Yeah. So I kept the Bible teachings, yeah, without even knowing it. I grew up a God-fearing man, and I very early on in my life deduced that you do not need to leave your mind to see anywhere else, because if you concentrate your consciousness into another person, who's gonna be in your consciousness when you do that? So let's say this person goes into my mind. He leaves himself exposed to another person going into his mind. So I'm an endpoint. I never see into anyone's mind. I'm there concentrating on what's in my head. I'm thinking in my mind about certain things, and then if I start to detect a feeling that is separate from me, that's when I know that somebody has started to view me. Let's say I'm happy, then I start to detect depression building into my consciousness. Then I automatically start to focus on that depression and say, where is this feeling of depression or feeling of dread coming from? And sure enough, it's always another individual. That is a sign that somebody else has started to view. Yeah. So after you meet at location A and you separate, yeah, this person will start to, based on the laws of entanglement, yeah, where one attribute on one particle affects that attribute in another particle. So the attribute of consciousness in person B will be affected by the attributes of consciousness in person A. He or she starts to see into my mind after the initial meeting, but I've never seen into anyone's mind, because I'm a special type of consciousness. Person A is a special type, a consciousness that does not leave the confines of its skull. But this is a consciousness that's always out, always realizing other ways. So we're both special in different ways. So if person A is the one, yeah, the one true consciousness, basically, what I mean by that is, if person B is seeing into my mind, yeah, if person C from somewhere else starts seeing into person B, all they'll see is where person B is seeing, which is my mind. So they'll be seeing into my mind too. If any people start seeing into this mind at the time when he's seeing into my mind, all they see is my mind, and they never see him. He's like I don't know, an interface, a connector or something for other people. Yeah. So the one is the end point, the mind that you see when you see into everyone else. If everyone on the planet was person B and I was person A, yeah, and an alien came to the planet, if they see into anyone other than me, all they see is the end point where they're all seeing, which is in my mind. Yeah. So if person A is the one, then he will start to experience person B inside him. Person A will sense person B in his consciousness. Like I said, I do that. I'm an empath. I sense when other people are viewing me. I can't see who's viewing me. I can't see their name. But from what I sense, I can deduce, sometimes I can deduce the sex of the person. Sometimes it feels like a female form. Sometimes it feels like a male form. Yeah, and this is why your you have to know that your physical body is does actually contribute to what your consciousness becomes. Your consciousness is there to look after the physical body. So if you're female, females feel different when they view your mind from males, whether you believe you're male or not. As soon as you start viewing into my mind, I'll know if you're somebody who was born carrying eggs. Yeah. So that's what I call a female, somebody who was born carrying eggs. If you're a male, somebody who was born carrying sperm, I will feel the difference. Yeah. So it's as if person B's consciousness can only exist as a composite of his and person A's consciousness combined. Yeah. So as I'm feeding you my consciousness, this basically means that it's the law of entanglements and how it works on a global scale. Yeah. So person E. Oh, sorry. Bring it back. So sensing that somebody is seeing into my mind, I'm person A. And person B. Now let's say we go back to our rooms, and I'm in London. He's in New York. Let's say we meet on the street. He goes back to New York. I go back to London, and as I'm in my room, I start sensing that somebody's seeing into my mind. Yeah. And he starts to see into my mind. His consciousness is drawn into my mind because I'm the one. My consciousness will never be drawn into his mind. If it was, I wouldn't be the one. But whenever we have that initial meeting, it's always you who's going to see into my mind. I will never see into yours. Now, I told you I started a temple. I wouldn't call it a church. But then again, because I do follow the teachings and guidance of Jesus Christ, I don't mind if you call it a church. It's a temple. Jesus never worshipped in a temple during his ministry. He never had a church building that you can say this is the church of Jesus Christ. He used to go out of mountain tops, go to people's dinner, and practice that way. So to know that I'm the one is to know that whenever we meet, you see into my mind. Once you can honestly say that I met this person, but now I can't stop seeing into his mind, that's when you know that you're in my temple. Yeah, that I was supposed to be someone who rules over you. Not rule over you, but somebody who's supposed to guide you into the kingdom of God, well, to guide you to Jesus, because I don't even know how to I can't even tolerate people in my mind. So I hope Jesus can do something with you, because I just can't stand people seeing into my mind. So I hope Jesus comes and does something with you. I just can't. So in my temple, the aim of my temple is to make sure that people stop seeing into my mind, and I direct them towards the Creator. So being the one, whenever we meet, it's you who will see into my mind. I will never see into yours. And once you've established that fact, yeah, you will know that I'm the one. That's when you should start looking into finding my temple. I won't advertise it, because obviously all the other religions out there are making money from religion, and they get scared when something else comes along to challenge their supremacy or dominance. So I'll get attacked, yeah, if I start to build a church like Jesus Christ was. Yeah, for them religion is a money making thing, but for me it's real life. Real life. I don't like people seeing into my mind. And if you're seeing there, my temple is like an advice center or a consultation place. I have to work with you and try and win you off seeing into there. I have to work with you in such a way that I discourage you from seeing into there. But if it's a natural law of entanglement that's causing you to see into there, then it's out of my hands. It's something that God did. Then we have to start trying to understand what God is. In my mind, God is what I define. I refuse the Creator is what I define. I refuse all other interpretations of the Creator. I don't believe in any of your beliefs about the Creator. Yeah. So if you're Muslim, Christian, and Jew, and all the other subcontinent religions, what's in your head when somebody says God or the Creator? Whatever is in your head, I don't believe in that. When somebody says those sacred words in my head, whatever is in my head, that's the Creator. Yeah. Whatever I believe in is what the creator is. So if you find yourself in my mind, we adhere to that. If you don't want to adhere to that, then you kindly leave my mind, and I'll try and if you join my temple, I'll show you how to win yourself off seeing into my mind. You just stop being around me for like 4 years, I think. So diagram B, which is this one here, yeah, this is diagram B. Location B is being realized by both person A and person B. So I'm at location B, yeah, and I'm seeing what's in my room, and so is person B. So he's realizing what I'm seeing, and I'm realizing what I'm seeing, obviously, yeah. But location C is only being realized by him, yeah. I can't see there. He's realizing what's in there, but I don't know what's in there. I only sense him when he starts seeing in there, but I never see what's in his room. I never see into his mind, yeah. So person A, the one, never sees into person B's mind, and hence never sees into his room at location C, yeah. I never see there. But person B can see into person A's mind and realize everything that person A realizes. So when person A realizes his room at location B, person B also realizes location B. The one never sees into them, they see into him. This is how you know who is the one, yeah. If we meet and we separate, and your person C, yeah, if you see into his mind and see into my room, and then you say, okay, if you see into my mind and you see my room, then you know that this is the terminal, the terminus, the omega, the end point. That's me, yeah. So sensing via deductive reasoning, this is what I do. I don't see into your mind. I can't tell you what you're doing in your room. If you go to the toilet, if you have a quick wank, if you're boning your girlfriend, I can't see any of that. But you'll be able to see that. So when person B sees into person A's mind and sees something at location B that he considers to be an advantage for person A in terms of competition, he will say or do something that then person A will be able to deduce. So let's say person B, after the initial meeting, yeah, let's say this is let's say we go to meet a girl, yeah, and there's another man there, and I'm there, so we're vying for that woman, yeah. Do you see the problems? And then we separate. So if I start thinking about that woman, he will be there seeing everything I'm thinking. If I start thinking, okay, I'm gonna buy her flowers, he will be there seeing me thinking, oh, I'm gonna buy her flowers. Then he will start saying to himself, he's gonna buy her flowers, yeah. Let me go and tell her that, you know, if somebody buys you flowers, they're trying to hide something and you shouldn't trust them. So he can actually call her up as I'm still thinking, oh, I met this woman, I'm gonna buy her flowers. He can call her up before I get to her and tell her, oh, and start a conversation randomly and say, okay, oh, but what do you think of people giving flowers? Da, 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 and then make it look like it's a sign of guilt. By the time I put on my shoes to go and sit and go to the flower shop and go to the woman and buy her flowers, as we're trying to compete with her, she would already have her mind changed. So my efforts to compete with him are hindered or hampered, yeah, because obviously all my plans are being seen by him. If I was planning to do a robbery, yeah, after meeting this person and he's into my mind, he can call police and they'll be that at my location, at that location, before I even go there to commit the robbery, yeah. So competing when your mind is being seen in and you're not seeing into anyone's mind is a hindrance and a disadvantage. You are at a disadvantage when you compete with people like that. I'm always at a disadvantage. That's why we're targeted individuals, and that's why we describe people who see into our minds as perpetrators. These are the people who perpetrate certain acts to force us into poverty or into mental illness. Yeah. So where was I? So anyway, when person B cannot control himself and gets compelled to utter something that is referring to something that he could only have known if he was seeing into person A's mind and location B. Yeah. So when I'm here and I'm thinking, oh, I'm gonna go and buy this woman flowers, when he's seeing into my mind, he'll start to feel, because he's a competitor, he'll start to feel bad about it. And when he starts to feel bad, that's when I start to think, hang on a minute, where's that feeling of somebody feeling bad? I'm not feeling bad. I want to buy this woman flowers. Why would I start feeling bad? That's when I go, oh, somebody must be seeing into my mind. Now, who would feel bad about me trying to buy this girl flowers? That's when my memory kicks in. I'm like, oh yeah, I met this person after meeting that girl. Yeah, that's when I deduce who who person B is. Yeah, that's what this is saying here. Yeah, okay. So this utterance often takes place the next time person A or person and person B, or when yeah, and or when person B describes what he saw at location B to other individuals, and those individuals then meet person A. So if he starts telling the woman that, oh, flowers are this and that and that, a sign of guilt, and I go to the woman and I'm holding flowers and I say, why are you feeling pensive? Why are you feeling unsure about me trying to give you these flowers? And she says, well, person B said this. When did he say that? And when I realized that he said it just after I thought it, that's also when I can deduce that it was him that was seeing there. Yeah, okay. So that's what this is saying here. So basically, I'm a special type of consciousness. That's why I had to become a temple or church, if you like. Whenever you find yourself being a special type of consciousness, you're a targeted individual, but don't see yourself as a victim. All that means, you can look at it the other way. It means that you're an endpoint, you're an omega, you're part of the omega construct. And everyone on the planet, their consciousness is drawn into yours as the endpoint. Yeah. When God wants to talk into your mind, yeah, at the time when God is communicating with you in your mind, everyone who's seeing into your mind will receive the word of God, of the Creator. Yeah, if the Creator starts talking in my mind and you're all seeing there, you're going to see what the Creator wants you to do. So I'm like a man of God, a man of the Creator. Yeah, these us targeted individuals were the creators. Yeah, when He wants to communicate to the whole population, He uses us. Yeah, so that's what I wanted you to bear in mind, that if person B, yeah, was a man of God, yeah, and his role then would be like that psi experiment, yeah. So God can also see into my mind from a remote place somewhere in heaven. So if God says something in my mind that I realize, yeah, once I realize it, everyone realizes. If He says something that will cause the Red Sea to part, He has to say it into my mind. Then once I realize it, everyone else realizes it, and then it changes to double slit, or it parts consciousness. So that's what God uses us for. So I keep saying God. That's why I say the Creator. That's why what the Creator uses us for. I don't like giving the Creator names, because obviously everything that I've ever been told is wrong. No one told me about person B. I lived my life like as an innocent person. I never knew that they can see there. I was very disappointed to deduce as an academic that if somebody talks about what I did there, that obviously implies that they're seeing there. Yeah. So I was very disappointed that they lied to me, and even modern science says that it's impossible for someone to see into your mind, but yet how could you be talking about what I did in my mind when you weren't there? But deductive reasoning tells you the only way you can talk about it is if you saw it. How did you see it if you weren't there? Yeah, so they all lie to me, a lie for a lie, and if they're willing to lie to me, I'm not obliged to tell them any truth. Yeah. So I'm very, very disappointed to find out that this is the case. This is what reality is. Okay. So just basically bear in mind that People like us, targeted individuals, can be used by God to alter reality by realizing things that are then realized. So it's like a transfer of a message realized by these perpetrators. And if you have 1 million perpetrators, you increase your chances of altering reality. It's not me who alters it. It's God. Sorry, the Creator, when it's in my consciousness. Yeah. That's why I refuse to have any definition of the Creator in my head apart from my own. If you believe in God, Yahweh, Allah, or Shiva, or whatever deity, Buddha, whatever, I refuse to accept any definition of God except what I'm realizing. I keep my mind pure. I'm free from familiar spirits, as it says in the Bible. So only the Creator can use. With the Creator, there's no choice. He's gonna use it as and when he feels like it, anyway. So I just leave myself open to God and no one else. The Creator and no one else. That's it. Thank you.